The road to 60 has been filled with many changes. Changes to our landscape, our culture, and indeed our music. Desmond Weeks in this edition of My Community weighs in on the emergence of spooge.
Barbados came a long way in these 60 years. I am proud about saying that too. And one thing I'm proud about is that spooge music is the music of Barbados. In these 60 years, we don't have to depend on Jamaica for the music. We don't have to depend on Trinidad. We don't have to depend on nobody for it. We have our own music. Some people might not use it, but we have our own music. And around 69, I think it is, I think it was around that time, Jackie Opel came back and he gave us something that we can be proud of. He gave us our own music that we could jam to.
Born in Green Park Lane at the start of the riots in 1937 and christened Dalton St. Clair Bishop. From early, he was an irrepressible singer and would sing along the streets for coppers as he grew. He became a roving minstrel, singing and diving for coins in the shippings to amuse tourists. Nevertheless, he continued his singing, earning the reputation of the only locally known person who could sing down a jukebox. And friends testify that when the tide was down and Jackie Opel was performing at the clubs in Fairchild Street, his voice could be heard in Broad Street.
I remember there was a shop called Mr. World Shop, and Jackie Opel would go in and he would say, punch any tune, any key, and I'm going to out sing that jukebox. And it was like a something to look forward to on Saturday nights or Friday nights. So, you know, Jackie's coming to out sing the jukebox, so he would put in the quarter, and you know, and there he was, you know, just singing. We used to call him Man Face.
And he did not supposed to do it because he was a king in Jamaica. And he did not supposed to do it. He was a king in Jamaica. A matter of fact, Jamaica independent music, Jackie Opel was one of the pioneers in promoting and producing that music, which is ska music. Because the ska is really the music of Jamaica, independence. And Jackie Opel was one of the forefront runners in the music industry in Jamaica. And he came back here, and I believe that he said Jamaica has its own music, Trinidad, soca, and Barbados should have its own music, and that is why he did the spooge music.
He's mainly identified with the spooge beat, Barbados' indigenous beat. Well, much controversy still surrounds the spooge beat, with some claiming it to be merely a speeded-up rock-steady beat. But spooge was adopted by the Draytons too, its main performers.
He got together with the troubadours and he did the spooge music. You know, so Barbados has its own music, and I'm proud about that. It took a few years to get there, but creating a music, original music, is not easy, you know, because if you realize that when you create music, it has to be part of the people and everything, and that is what Jackie Opel came back and live it, and then he did the music, where at that time everybody was into the music. And at that time too, that is when we had a music industry. We don't have really a music industry now, but at that time we had a music industry, because what actually happened is that we had a place called World Recording. We recorded all the Bajan artists, and we didn't have to fork out a cent. All we had to do is carry a good sound, or carry a sound to World, and World would just record the sound and put it out there. at that time we had a real music industry, and, and to explain it to you, let me show you. What actually happened is that every week, salesmen used to leave from Barbados to go down through the islands and sell the Barbadian music, spooge music. I mean, it was Bunny Bess and Bunny Bess and a host of even the guy who runs Linda's record shop. He was a salesman there, right? He was a salesman at work, and they used to leave Barbados like Tuesday on I think it was the Federal Palm, I think, and go down to St. Lucia, um, go right up the islands, right, and sell records, box of records.
But the infectious nature of spooge did not end here.
Bunny Allen, Bunny Allen used to pack his trunk with with records and go through the country. Bunny Allen is one of the greatest songwriters that Barbados ever had, you know. And through that, we had people like Wendy Allen and Joseph Niles, the Opels, Flatbush. All of these entertainers used to were able to just put out music, and at the end of 3 months we would go up there and we would get royalties. You know, it was an industry. People used to like Bunny Allen. He would go through the country selling records, and Drayton Stowe, Joseph Niles, Wendy Allen, the Merry Men. And when you go down the islands, people know you. You can go right now. I don't think a lot of our entertainers, they are popular, but I don't think a lot of entertainers could go to other countries and say this body in concert. I don't think so. This one, but at that time, you can go to St. Lucia. A matter of fact, the Drayton Stowe went to St. Lucia. We went all through the Caribbean, right? And God bless Eric Seeley. Eric Seeley took us through the Caribbean. As a matter of fact, I was working at the Costa at that time. I was working at the Costa, and Eric came in the Costa. Man, you all are so popular in Grenada that, man, I don't understand, but yours real popular. And I can remember I took out some savings I had, not some, all. $300 I had. And I said, well, if you think that we so popular down here, go and promote the show. And he went to Grenada and promoted the show. And when the Drayton Stowe got down there, my dear, let me tell you that I saw people lining the streets, you know, people coming out, and we did it. And a matter of fact, Gary was in power at that time, Prime Minister Gary. And we stood at Rock Gardens. We stood at his place. And the night the show, I was surprised to see people crowding you and so on, you know. And then we started to go from island to island. In those days then, you had like island hopping. So we could have done 3 or 4 islands in 1 week. 1 week we do 3 or 4 islands. We got a Liat, used to take you from one island to the next. And we do the show tonight, get back on the plane in the morning, 6 o'clock, get into the other island, and everything is set up there. The theater, the cinema is set up and everything, PA system and everything going up for you. And there were only 2 people in Barbados, to my knowledge, that ever took Barbadian artists overseas. And that is Foreigner Frank, which is Frank Copping. He took Flatbush over there, over down the islands, and Eric Seeley. But all the other promoters were promoting in Barbados. But they had the heart and soul to take the artists out there. And you didn't have no problems, because when you go down there, World had everything set up, because the music playing down there, and thanks CBC too, because CBC had a lot of not competition. They had you could have people could call in and request the songs and so on, and people down the islands used to hear CBC. A matter of fact, CBC is one of the first studios in Barbados, where we used to go down the Lazarette and record the CBC. And I can't forget Vernon Sorbers. Vernon Sorbers was one of the engineers that he recorded most of the artists in Barbados. Vernon Sorbers. We had to depend on CBC to do a lot of our recording. Gabby recorded on the Lazarette, the Drayton Stew, the Opels. Everybody used to record there. And sometimes we go into the studio, 3 o'clock the evening, and we coming out of that studio the next morning, 9 o'clock, because at that time, you didn't have the technology that you can cut and paste and do all that. The whole band had to record at the same time. And Werner Summers and them guys were so knowledgeable. They used to do it. It's a fantastic. Now I get to understand what they used to be doing. It amazed me how they had that sort of training. It wasn't now you go on YouTube now and see how to record or anything. Those guys had to do it from the natural ability. So CBC used to think. A matter of fact, when Jackie Opel got into the accident, he was coming from the Lazarette doing a sound. And that is when he got killed there in Bear Street. The car got into the accident. So there are people that we cannot forget where the industry is concerned. And we must recognize these people for building what we have today. I mean, what we have today, without them people, with the foundation, we wouldn't be where we are today. The Tuk Band, we wouldn't be where we are today without the Tuk Band. That is why I honored the first female admiral this year at my show, right? Because that is an achievement that I made. First female admiral. The Tuk Band came up with in Carnon Village. I used to go and watch the Tuk Band. Tuk Band was led by a man all these years. But now some ground has been broken and now they have the thing. And if you listen to the music now of Barbados, listen to Lil Rick, listen to everybody who is popular, that Tuk is in the music. You are a music icon too. And that Tuk is in the music. Pa, pa, brr, taka, taka, pa, pa. All of that is what got the people jamming now. So the Tuk Band is very, very important. And we should mention the Tuk Band in our music. Even the Trinidadians took it and they're embracing it, putting it in the music. So the Tuk Band played a very, very important part in the music of Barbados.
Having said that, what about the landship? Because you get the same.
Well, the landship and Tuk Band is actually one and one because the landship is being driven. The Tuk is the engine, right? So the landship is the Tuk is the engine, right? So the ship is really the sailing part of it.
I like it.
When you hear the guy, that's the engine that moving the ship, right? So that Tuk Band is the real engine of the ship. And we got the I never knew his name. Potato Mouth. I never knew his name. I can't remember his name. But he But he is the guy that used to pet that rhythm make you move your waist, you know. So there are a lot of people in Barbados that you cannot forget where the music is concerned. And I mean, and it was very important because after getting independent, after becoming independent, you have to have your own rhythms. Everywhere in the world that has independent have their own rhythm. If you go to America, America is the soul and and all those things. You go to Trinidad, it is the soca. If you go to Jamaica, it is the reggae, and then because Jamaica came from blue beat, rock steady, and they came right up, you know. So every country that say they're independent, you must have your own music so that you can be identified with your own music.
Desmond makes it clear that spooge swept through Barbados and the Caribbean. But how does it affect our culture?
Culture is as a way of life. And to be truthful, um, Barbadians right now, we only projecting about 60% of our culture because our culture is a different way of life than other Caribbean islands. We must understand that when they brought the slaves here, when we came here, right? Um, it is said that we were the cool, quiet ones that came here first and they dropped us here first. It was said that, right? I go with what it was said. It said that we were the ones that obey people, we were the quiet ones and everything. And then they send the others over to other places. So our culture is not like how you would see Jamaica culture or anything or anything. We are a different kind of people. But what I find in Barbados is that we tend to copy and we try to do what other people are doing. But we are not really developing our culture as such. We are not developing our culture. And if you look, reggae can be our music. Trying to speak like Jamaican isn't. I can tell you full. Trying to speak like a Jamaican isn't a Bajan because every music genre you can tell what which country the person came from. Every music genre you can tell where the person came from by the way they pronounce and the way they phrase their music. Like take for instance, I would if you hear some person say, "I'm so proud of being alone and I'm going back home," you will know that's country and western down south in America, right? Now when you hear salsa, yeah, you know that is Trinidad. So when you hear certain entertainers, you can say that is Jamaican music, that is American music, that is Trinidadian music. Even Guadeloupe has their own music. What I would like the agents to do is to it don't have to be spooge, but develop something that you can phrase and people can say that is Bajan with the rhythms. But trying to sing like a Trinidadian or trying to sing like a Jamaican, it isn't going to cut it. When people want Jamaican music, they're going to go to Jamaica for Jamaican music. When people want American music, they're going to America for American. I don't care how sweet a Bajan sings soca or Jamaican. They are going to go to Jamaica for the music because that music is a way of life. That music is a way of life where Jamaicans is concerned, where the Americans is concerned. You know what I mean? When Sam Cooke did, Um, can't you hear them saying, ooh, ah, that is the slaves working in America, working in the fields. You understand? So every music is tied up in everything to push your culture. And this is why I would say that Barbadians should really concentrate on pushing their own culture. And then the entertainers can get more money because when somebody want music, they can buy you. You can then go and spearhead all over the world. And what you think about it is that sometimes I watching TV and I see some Caribbean videos coming up, shows on Caribbean, and not a Bajan on it. And it's showing in Barbados, right? Not one Bajan on it. So which means that we are not doing enough. We are not doing enough to push ourselves out there.
What are Desmond's hopes and dreams on this road to 60? And how do we get there?
First of all, we got to get on our knees and pray and ask God for guidance, ask the Most High for guidance. Because what I am seeing now and the youth is seeing, that is where Barbados is going to go. And there are mothers out there that have to set an example so that their daughters would walk in that path. Because, as I say, Barbados is a society that we are quiet, we try to be intelligent, you understand? We use our intelligence to go forward. But right now, with social media and all those things, we have to be careful because what the youth see now is what they are going to follow. Mm-hmm. You understand? And it's obvious because I love Jackie Opel, so I try to sing like Jackie Opel, right? So when you open the social media and you see your mother doing certain things, then you can feel it is right. And then that will be developing into the wrong direction. When you see your father doing things. Look, years ago when you're lining together, as I say, the young people couldn't line with the older people. You would say, go home. They slap you on your legs. There you go home. But right now, you will go certain places and you will see some young little boys with some big people doing a lot of things that isn't the right things to do in life, right? When you get big and you want to do what you want to, and you want to go the direction you want to go, that is right call. You have to choose that. But right now, and you are a youngster, kid, you trying to do what you see them big people doing, and which means that you are not chartering a path for your own self. So we can talk, and we can say that this thing's cool and all of them things, but when you get home, that is the important part of your life. That's a part of your life that what you see the big people doing, you are going to do. And when you open social media and you see the things that are happening on social media, before people used to do things in the bedroom, you understand? But now you got your bedroom now is social media. You understand what I'm saying? I watches them, because I watches everything, because I want to write songs. I'm a songwriter, so I have to know what is happening. You understand? So if we don't try and find a way to control our own society, we have to find a way. We have to find a way. If we don't find a way, time now in the next 10 years, and mostly it happening with my kind of people. You understand? Mostly my kind of people is who I seeing following the wrong direction. So with my type of people, my kind of people, you know, we can go astray. And then we can't get back there. And then the youth can follow the youth can follow the youth. So we got to be very, 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 very careful. As I told you, I grew up being in a crowd, love singing, and I sing. So if I was in a crowd pelting big rocks at people, I would think that right, and I would pelt big rocks at people. Because when you're a youth, you're being guided. And when you were a youth, you normally follow what you see the bigger people doing. Because you feel that is right. And them can't tell you that it is wrong because they are doing it. So that is it, you know?
From singing under street lights in the dead of night to being a part of a movement of spooge, a new era in Barbados that not only spanned our local landscapes, but spanned across the region. This infectious music has done more for the history of Barbados and its heritage. It's created a pathway that those of us within the music industry can step on the shoulders of those who paved the way. The Jackie Opels, who started the movement, and then the many others like the Draytons too, and the like. This is all part of my community. But particularly on this road to 60, we want to take those memories and the heritage and continue to pass the baton and move on. You've been watching My Community. I'm Kimberly Skeet. Thanks for watching.
Eternal love.